Right, we're recording now. Thank you, Margaret.
Well, Brian asked me if I could sort out some photos of the Gambia, but as I've got well over 1,000, it was rather a large task. So I thought it probably better to use this little presentation that I already had saved. And that's the beautiful indigo tie-dye material. I love that they have there, and a picture of Stockholm Market, which is the big conurbation in the country. Next one, Brian. Yeah. The study visits were for the Royal School of Education, but initially for the geography specialists, and later on it was extended to the early childhood studies specialists because they were fascinated at the look of the extended family and the use of the community. And well, it's our childhood, I suspect, but it's very current in the Gambia now. And also then later involved Devon and Dorset teachers on a course. I don't know what GEST stands for. I used to know. And the pictures show on the left a group of teachers arriving near the hotel. On the right, a group of students posing with a lot of the Gambians that they met and chatted with. And we initially did it for just 2 weeks in August and September, but the rains beat us really. It was a very, very humid, rainy season. So we then moved it to January or possibly February. And I took groups on this a 7-day study visit 24 or 25 times. I've lost track of how many. So a lot of people had the opportunity to experience 7 days of a study visit in the Gambia. Next. Next. Oh, there we are. Yeah. Why did we do it? We did it because the national curriculum changed and it was required that students learnt about localities in less economically developed countries. And I discovered by questioning teachers and students that approximately 1 in 13 had experience of an LEDC, but it was mostly in tourist resorts or organised coach trips. And most of them hadn't experienced the general life and hadn't wandered around in the locality. So I thought it was very important that we experienced the Gambia rather than just viewed it. Because I think an awful lot of visits, I call them like treating countries like theme parks. People go around in a great big high-rise Land Rover vehicle and view the country as if they're going around a theme park. So it was very important to me that the students got in and amongst the people and really did experience life in the Gambia. I checked on the price. It's doubled now, but the students initially had to pay, well, all the time they had to pay the whole thing themselves. Although it made me very cross because although the college got an extra £200 per geography student for fieldwork, the college wouldn't pass it on to the students, and they had £500. Yes, it was just absorbed into the general college funds, which really annoyed me, and I had battles but didn't win them. So they paid for it entirely themselves, and we went with the Gambia experience. Next one. We stayed at a hotel right at the very top of the map at a place called Bacau. I didn't want the group to stay on the tourist strip, which is a little bit down the coast, down the west coast of the Gambia. I wanted them to be in amongst the people, so we had the most sort of town-centred hotel away from the tourist strip. The capital, Banjul, is across to the east, and it's essentially on an island. It's very, very small on an island, so it couldn't develop any further. It dates from the colonial times. And that's a little view of the facilities at the hotel. Next one. I felt it was essential for the students to travel around. Well, I had to travel in threes or fours for health and safety reasons. But it was also that they were traveling with the local people, meeting the local people, chatting to them, being able to ask questions and answer questions. And for us, it was very, very cheap. Just for one day, I did hire a bus to take us further inland, just so we could contextualize our hotel a bit. The two pictures show on the right-hand side, it's the minibuses that are the transport that the local people use. That's a picture in the capital, Banjul. And the taxis, the bush taxis, as they're usually called, are the yellow with green stripes, and they're very, very cheap. Next one. I don't think we'll go through any of that. Yeah, or the second one. I thought, I don't know how many people have actually been to a tropical country. I expect you all have. But the impact of when you get off the plane the first time into the heat and the humidity is a very important experience. I don't think you ever experience it quite the same again. So I thought it was very important to remind myself that what the students were feeling and what they were experiencing and what it was like for them, because I was so familiar with it, but it was all new. Next one. Yeah, this was a bone of contention because our degrees were at that time. I first went in 1993. At that time, we were under the geography department at the University of Plymouth, and they wanted the students to plan their projects in advance using their Western geography experience, their Western fieldwork approaches, and with their Western knowledge. And it was just totally inappropriate for doing fieldwork in the Gambia, because you don't know, it's so totally different how the local people react. The local people are really curious about what you're doing, whereas here you can go out and do fieldwork and not be noticed at all. In the Gambia, the local people wanted to join you. They wanted to chat with you. They wanted to see what you were doing. And also the use of vocabulary would be a problem if they planned it in advance, because just use an example I used to use with them in discussions afterwards was just the use of the word shop. If I started talking about perhaps they might like to do a shop survey in the Gambia for their fieldwork, they would visualize Western shops, but when they got there, they'd have to completely unlearn what they thought and get a completely different image. So whatever language I'd used beforehand they'd have to unlearn it and ditch all their visualizations and sort of start again. So I didn't do any preparation with them at all beforehand because of that. If they wanted to do some preparation themselves, that was good enough. That was fine. But I got the impression they didn't do much, that they wanted to go with an open mind as well. On one occasion, I did ask the students on the plane out there if they could draw me a sketch map of the Gambia, just to see how much research they'd done. These are students between their second and third year of their degree. And one of them drew this fantastic map of the Gambia with a river along the middle. So he'd grasped that, but he'd called it the Gambesi.
Oh,
and I also had this battle with the external examiner because he wanted to plan it all in advance, and I wasn't going to have it. And that was a battle I did manage to win. Those photos, the one that the lady doing her ironing in the area inside her compound in a village, I've got one of those irons. It's like a Victorian sort of charcoal iron. She puts charcoal in the iron. The lid opens up, puts charcoal in it. And
well, I used to use those when I was young. We used them at home. I think they still use them in the villages where there's no electricity. You just fill it with hot coal and
coke, yes.
your iron. You keep on shaking it up to sort of dislike the ashes.
Yeah, I've got one here. Yeah,
and they're quite efficient.
Inside one of the houses.
Mm-hmm.
Next one.
You probably realise that Margaret's very happy for you to chip your bit in whenever you like, okay, and ask questions or make comments.
Of course, yeah. Next one, Brian, please. Yeah, that just summarizes the blue ones. Also, yeah. I've already mentioned the not wanting to transfer Western methodologies. The second blue one, asking questions is very challenging, we found, because sometimes the syntax of our questions wasn't understood. The people that we wanted to chat to tended to want to give us the answers they thought we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And there were certainly gender issues. The women were very, very reluctant to answer questions. They always looked to the men, as if it was the men's job to answer questions. So it was, no, that was some very important bit of learning for the students. The top right-hand, Gail, she was a young lady from a Cornish village. And this quote from her, I've hardly seen any black people, and I've certainly never spoken to one. And she moved from that to interviewing grandmothers, mothers and daughters about the changing role of women in the Gambia. It was a sort of tremendous move for her. And then Melanie, she burst into tears in front of the whole group. Must have been extremely embarrassing for her. She went from, I can't ask them questions, I can't even look them in the eye, to interviewing the manager of Banjul Brewery about the distribution of bottled drinks in an essentially Muslim country, i.e. no alcohol. So just shows two examples of the learning and the development of the students got from the experience. Next one, please. We quite often saw demonstrations. We own our minds, we will not be anyone's fool.
Ooh.
There was another one I remember, several times we saw ones about bushfires and being careful about fuel wood. Next one.
It's a very powerful banner, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it more closely, and most of the people you can see in it are men.
Yeah.
Yes, mainly men and a few young girls, not elder, not middle-aged women. It's just young girls and men.
Yeah, yeah. Next one. Oh, here we are. The
Oh, lovely and colourful.
the capital city. That was mainly so the students got used to using the bush taxis or the minibuses and confident about walking around in Banjul, which is well, it's the most westernized part of the Gambia. As it mentioned there, they travel by the minibus. It costs the equivalent of 20p to get the few miles into the capital. And they started to recognise the townships, the colonial heritage, or not, there wasn't much of it, and they began to identify patterns. That's a picture in one of the markets. The lady on the left was very pleased to pose for me, mentioned last week about the ethics of taking photos without asking permission. She wanted to pose for me, and I've got a watercolour painting on my wall from that photo, which I'm quite pleased with. Next one. Some general shots of Banjul. Very wide streets which turn into markets sometimes. The top right picture, the building in the background is one of the few colonial buildings that are visible.
Can I interrupt about the wide streets? Do you know how they came about?
No.
Well, when the first colonials went to Africa, they were using the ox cart. In Bulawayo, where I grew up, the roads were wide enough for the span of 16 oxen to turn round in the middle of the road. So by the time they were tired, they could park either side of the road and in the middle of the road and still have a two-way traffic. That's how wide the roads were. That's how they came to be this wide. But when they first settled, they were using ox-drawn carts, maybe with a 16-pound. They should be able to turn around in the middle of the road.
That's fascinating. Thank you.
How fascinating. How fascinating.
The bottom left shows some of the modern buildings and the accommodation. The bottom right, as soon as you get away from the very centre, there were dirt roads. These slides were taken about 20 years ago, but since then there was a huge sort of tarmacking project. So I don't know the extent of the tarmacking now, but there were dirt.
Dirt road, it means the dusty roads that are not tarred. Doesn't mean that they are dirty. It's the roads that haven't got tar on them. They just used to call them dirt roads. That's the language.
Red laterite roads, yes. Next one, please. Second day, we went to Serakunda. Now, I mentioned that Banjul's on an island, so it can't expand, but Serakunda can expand, and it is huge. And this shows one of the most interesting aspects of trade. The recycling is very, very big in the Gambia. And these are little aluminium workshops along the pavement, or no pavement, on the street edge. They are the wares for sale, the aluminium cooking pots. And behind them, in these shacks, there are people melting the aluminium, making sand casts to cast the aluminium, and all the work is being done behind that facade of the cooking pots for sale. The aluminium is readily available because people collect, particularly young lads, collect sackfuls of the drink cans from all the hotels and the outlets and sell them by the kilo. I don't know what the price was, but they're sold by the kilo to the aluminium workshops. I found that absolutely fascinating. See all the work being done. You can see the whole process. The materials come in the back and they work their way through and come out onto the roadside as the goods for sale. Next one, please.
If there was a health issue, he these days maybe he'd be wearing a mask. I don't know, but I don't know. But
I doubt it, Brian. They haven't.
yeah,
I think the health and safety has progressed that far yet.
No, not yet. That's thousands of years away.
Women will be wearing masks doing their cooking because they do their cooking them in the villages. Those dreadful smoke. Yeah. And
really.
the other health issue, of course, was that there was a fright about the health of cooking with aluminium. Isn't there? The contamination from aluminium.
Mm.
Next one. Just more general shots of Serakunda. Top left, the huge market, and another view of the market on the right. Well, 3 views of the market, and the bottom left is a group of students behind the aluminium workshop area, where you can see where the huge tree trunks arrive. There's also deforestation and fuel wood. And so the wood comes into behind, it's all chopped up there. The carpenter's shops are in that area. And then some of it goes forward into the aluminium workshops to make the cooking pots. Just general view of the food available.
So are those? I can see the students next to them. Is that the smelters, or are they people who are driving the taxis for them or whatever?
No, they didn't keep the taxis. They just used the taxis like we use a bus.
All right, I see.
No, they
So these are locals who wanted to be in the photos, are they?
people
Or
who
there might be the stall holders, maybe,
Stall-
working the area in
the merchants. Yeah,
the merchants. Yeah.
they wait outside or by the roadside to get the bush taxis and just get in the yellow cars when they came along with the local people. So they always travel in with the local people and just use them like a bus service.
Yeah, no, I appreciated that. I was just wondering, they're either very keen to get there in the photos, like people would be this day and age, I suppose, but maybe then less so, I don't know. But they're very willingly in the photos there, aren't they? In the bottom left one I'm talking about.
very keen
Yeah,
to
they
get.
look like young men. Yeah.
Yeah, very keen. Yeah, we didn't have any problems until towards the end. The last time I went was 2005, and by then, as I mentioned last week, people had started to ask to be paid to be in a photo. The nasty effect of tourism, one of the nasty effects of tourism. But we didn't have any problems. We just always asked if people minded if we took their photo, and we were never refused until right at the end of the visits. Next one. Textiles is one of my big things. I've got far too many textiles, but so I really enjoyed tracing how they were produced. And I've got a full of indigo tie-dyes. The bottom one is, well, it's mostly tie-dyed Chinese cotton, and a lot of it has got a damask weave to it, so it's very nice cotton, very nice, good quality cotton, tied up. That's why the tying is mostly done by men. In fact, most of the production is done by men, and the selling is done by the women. The left-hand side is where it's been dyed and is drying, just draped around to. Oh, it's been dyed. That's where patterns have been. Oh, I'm getting all muddled up with it. A paste has been applied to the cloth. Patterns made in the paste and then dyed, and then then it will be boiled in a big cauldron of water to remove the paste, and it's just drying there before the pattern is revealed.
So it's not using wax then for the tie-dye, it's using paste that you mark through.
I'm not sure, Brian. I think most of it is a wax. I think most of it is candle wax, but they paste. They called it a paste, but it's I'm pretty certain it's candle wax. And the men on the right have got the finished cloth draped over logs, and they're beating it to give it a polish, a shine. There's this the great big wooden mallets, and it comes up very, very shiny.
Wow.
I don't know how many washes the shine lasts, but they do a very good job beating it. It's very labour intensive, from the tying to the pasting to the dyeing to the beating, and then the top picture is just one of my former colleagues buying some fabric in the market.
And in the left-hand picture, is that the fabric drying out where it's stretched? Is that?
It's just draped. It's just draped.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
It's just dry, and to stop the rocks, to stop it blowing away, I suspect.
Yeah.
Most of the little bushes seem to have thorns on. I think the things draped over the little bushes not likely to move. They'd be stuck on the thorns. Next one. Day 3 was well, by this time, of course, they'd had day 1 to Banjul bush taxi, day 2 to Serakunda bush taxi, so they were familiar with bush taxis. Day 3 was a sort of rest day to go, a cool day in the Abuko Nature Reserve, but it also was a day when they had to change bush taxis, so they really had to have their confidence up to sort of travel. They had to get one bush taxi into Serakunda, then another one towards a place called Lamin or to Brikama, and it was often a minibus on that route because that's the main road through the Gambia. So they were really confident to get there. And we were there, we saw the tropical forest, lots of birds, monkeys, lots of termites. And there were a few crocodiles in that lake pond. And there was a little zoo with hyenas and very, very tiny. But it was... The reserve where someone a long while ago now had the foresight to buy a piece of land to preserve it as the natural vegetation. The whole thing was built over and developed, and so that it's one little sort of oasis of the original riverine forest that this chap had the foresight.
Green.
Sorry?
I said it looks lovely in green.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Next one. Oh, sorry that, Brian. That's the cloth in the background there as an example of the cloth that's been pasted and then the pattern scraped into the paste. So they're either mostly tie dyes, which I usually buy the indigos dyed, or patterns like that. That's where the pattern's been scraped into the paste, dyed, and then the paste.
Talking about the previous slide, are you?
But I've got the green one, Abuko. The green one.
Right.
It's the background, Brian.
It's a background.
Oh, sorry. Well, that answers another question that I had. In the previous one, there were the 2 women selling the dyes or the fabrics, and my question would have been, were they wearing not tie-dyeing the fact of tying it up, but their patterns on their dresses? They were very decorative. And I can imagine they're done with wax and drawing through wax.
They mostly wear, well, Yeah, the people selling the textiles tend to wear the stuff that they produce, either these sort of patterns scraped in like the green one we're looking at now, or the tie-dyed, or often plain dyed with embroidery done by men on the sewing machines. The patterns are embroidered by them. The textiles are absolutely fascinating, but there's an awful lot of what's sort of it's called Dutch cloth, sort of printed, block printed stuff now. Brightly, well, the stuff you'll be familiar with from seeing pictures of African countries. Got examples of it, but I don't think I used any of it as the background in these slides. Don't know if that helps or not. That's probably confusing.
No, it does. It does.
Next one.
This Muslim looks like.
This was a Friday, so we always went to Abuka on the Friday, so we had to leave to come back to be in Serekunda for about 1:45 because I wanted them to experience Muslim prayers or to see it. I feeling uncomfortable as a spectator, unfortunately, but to see the prayers at 2:00 every Friday. At this time, there was a little mosque in the market. That's my sketch of it, my little drawing of it in the bottom right corner, the little market mosque. But that clearly wasn't big enough. So you used to use a large open space, and it was segregated. The top picture shows the men, and the other two pictures show the women all together with their little prayer mats in prayer. The similar situation was in Bakau, where we stayed, where they prayed in a huge open space because the mosque wasn't big enough. But since then, a huge mosque has been built in Serekunda. And so that pretty well is big enough. But the mosque is by the main crossroads in Serekunda, and that becomes a huge sort of prayer ground, really. People completely block the crossroads by praying in the street, lay their prayer mats down in the road and pray, completely blocking the junction. It's incredible. There's a number of people that come to prayer at that crossroads. I wish I got a photo. Well, I have in amongst thousands of pictures, but I couldn't find it. And also around the edges of this major crossroads, there'll be all the people, the crippled people, the lame people, people with problems of all sorts, with their little sort of begging bowls. And it was very, very noticeable that everyone gave. It sort of looked upon as begging. It was looking upon as sharing and providing. And everyone was dropping coins into the bowls. And it was it was a very moving experience, I must admit.
Margaret, what proportion of the population are Muslim?
Between 90 and 95%.
Wow.
Oh, it's quite a big population.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm very interested because my last posting was Sierra Leone, and because half the population were the descendants of freed slaves, it was totally different.
Yeah.
Are there no freed slave descendants in Gambia?
Not that I was aware of.
Oh, right.
There might well be further in Nancy that we were very much, because we only had 7 days and stayed at Bakau, we were very much up at the...
No, I suppose it's because it's much further north than Sierra Leone and much nearer Mauritania and places like that.
In my previous experience in Nigeria, and of course I was there at the time of the war. I was in the east, in Igbo land, which was very much Christian.
It's really interesting.
It was very much Muslim, and the Fulani in the north. And that's basically the cause of the civil war, the conflict between the Igbos and the Hausas. But that was very, very, very different there. It was very regionalized. But now, of course, they've got all the conflicts in Nigeria, the Boko Haram people murdering and abducting, and that's all religion based.
Yeah.
But Gambia is very much a Muslim country.
That's interesting.
I just noticed it says that's Bacau. That is the Bacau. That's not them. That slide. It wasn't in Banjo. It was Bacau. Yeah. Okay, next one, please.
Mm.
Then the next day was the bus trip. So we started from Bacau at the top, and we went down the main. You see the main road going down and then turning right to go up country. Little way down, there's the name Sakuta. We stopped there, which was a huge women's cooperative, they call them their gardens, but we would call them allotments. And the trade is very much the women produce and are responsible for the needs of daily life, and the men are responsible for and produce the cash crops or the cash product. They're responsible for the textile, the dyeing and the textiles, because that's a cash product. The women are responsible for the fruit and vegetables and things that are sold in the market, and it's very gendered. So we used to stop at Sakuta and see the women's gardens. I mean, it showed one of the problems of people giving aid to countries, because some group early years ago had provided them, well, they were concerned about the wells that women were having to draw water from. So they provided them with some pumps to use, but the engineering wasn't strong enough. They broke, and the women just hadn't got the money to repair the pumps. So they had to go back to their wells. And it's very difficult, this aid situation. And then we went, if you follow the road down to Lamin, that was where we, near where Abuko was. And then we drove further on, and we went as far as Brikama and to Tangi. Well, Tangi is just sort of on the coast, on the left-hand side. And we stopped at, and it says at the bottom, at Tangi, we visited the village, the school, the fishing, the fish smoking. You'll see there's pictures of it. Let's go on to the next picture.
Very lovely map, Margaret. How's that been created? That's not your students. That's a local map, is it?
It's a map available for tourists, yeah.
Yeah.
It is beautiful. That's obviously just the western end of it, because we only went we didn't go very far because we only had the day with the bus trip.
Next one.
Next one, yes, please. Tangi. On the map, it was spelt with an I, and I've spelt it with an E. It was variable. Sometimes it was spelt with an E, sometimes with an I. Tangi, on the coast, has a wonderful fishing fleet of wonderfully painted wooden boats, pirogues as they're called, and it has the fish smoking sheds. And I don't know what the fish are called, because they had a Gambian name which I didn't catch, but they have very bright yellow fins and tails. And they're smoked. I think they're smoked for 3 days on shelves above wood fires. And talking about masks and smoke, that's a lovely atmosphere to work in.
Mm-hmm.
Equivalent of kippers, and they were delicious. And they cost $1 each, so 5p each.
Oh, good heavens.
And there's the women on the beach. The pirogues have come in with the fish, and they're buying some fish, and some of them will sell it as fresh fish, or they will take it home for their families. And then there's Tangi Primary School. Tangi's got an H on the end of it, so it's
Yeah, Tangi.
It's a lovely fish that she's holding up for you.
Yeah.
In the right-hand picture.
Yeah, you can see the lady with the fish here.
And the other picture is the men making a dugout canoe.
Oh.
Yes. Yes.
With their little ads, the lads. And there was also, in another shed, there were men making the nets. Fantastic place, absolutely amazing.
It's a wonderful place to visit, and a real sort of education. Because there's so much activity going on, isn't there, really? And when it reflects the lifestyle and culture of that location, that's a wonderful experience for the students, I'm sure.
Yeah, this with the tourist experience that most people get when they tourist resort experience, most people get with what the students were getting in this.
Yes, interesting. Next
one, please. More pictures of Tangier. Picture on the left in the village school with a map of the Gambia on the wall.
Oh, yes.
Says the tutor. Bit high up for the children to use, but never mind. Top right, one of the jest groups, they're Devon geography advisors and some of the Devon teachers talking to people on the beach. And then a group of children with some of the students. That's the main road through Tangier with the fencing is sort of wood.
This is amazing. I thought it was people originally, and then I realised it couldn't be.
Now looking closer, I say wood and fence.
The child in the bottom right-hand corner's got his hoop, a bicycle wheel hoop. They're all very keen. They're all very keen to chat and very willing. It was lovely. The background in this slide is a piece of fabric that's been tie-dyed on a very big scale. Or dipped in several coloured dyes. It's been folded up.
The cream, whatever. Yeah.
Next one. These are the top left is the women's gardens, or as we would call them, the allotments.
Yeah, equivalent of allotments. Yeah.
All got to be watered by hand, of course. The bottom picture again showing a close-up of some of the vegetables. Top right, students wandering through the village with some of the children, with some of the local people as well. All very, very friendly. And the other one, a girl in school uniform watering a little banana tree.
Did you know what all the vegetables were?
Mostly. Because I'd been so many times, and also because in my time in Nigeria we'd grown some of them ourselves. So I'd had that experience, and I was also able to link them up with what was available, what the women were selling in the markets. Because all the stuff for sale in the market, well, a little bit of it was imported, like they did import apples and things, but most of the local produce that you could see growing in the women's gardens. And then so these, a lot of it was sort of aubergines and various leaves, onions, tomatoes.
Shirley Kay.
Yeah. Next one.
Yeah, I invited you in the other.
More pictures. We were very, very, I put at the bottom there, a real privilege. We went to the Lachikunda, Tangi, Madinara, Jambanjelly, and we were always invited into their compounds and very often into the homes, into the rooms. And I thought it was an incredible privilege. Can you imagine if a group of Gambians came over to here on a visit, whether we would invite them into our homes and welcome them in? Wouldn't do it the way we were welcomed there at all. It was absolutely... There's a group of students. There's beds with bed netting, with net on, with the mosquitoes. Yeah, family. They were really proud to show us their homes. It was lovely. We really appreciated it. Next one, please.
The fabric that he's wearing in the centre. That's pretty amazing.
Yes, the pink and blue.
That's tie-dyed, like the one in the background.
Yeah.
The shirt is lovely.
It's lovely, isn't it? The lovely colour range. And the top picture's lovely too, isn't it? That's a family, I presume. Different generations, is it? Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's...
Well, it might be neighbours, yeah, anyone who was around at the time.
Yeah.
Sure,
It's lovely.
Conscious, Brian, that it's gone 11:30. Do you want to continue now, or do you want to leave it till next week?
We can carry. I think it's probably best we carry on because
Okay.
I won't be here next week, and it's on. It'll be all on one recording this way.
Yeah. The top left picture shows something that the early childhood studies students are very interested in, because I was a lot of us were very concerned at first when we saw young girls carrying babies around on their hips. So girls of 7 or 8 or 9 looking after a baby, But then that shows it muted. The young girls would look after the baby. Then the teenagers would keep an eye on the young girls who were with the babies. And then the young mothers would keep an eye on the teenagers.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. One way of sharing it out, isn't it? That's wonderful.
The matriarch,
Yeah.
matriarchal in the families where we were, with our experience. But it was every generation was looking after or every age group was looking after the age, keeping an eye on.
Well, another info, dislocated hips were very rare in, where I grew up. The orthopedic surgeon said it was because once a baby is born, was put on the back of the toddler, maybe it's 6 or 6 year or 7-year-old. If there was a dislocation, that feet coming round the back, it automatically corrected the dislocated hips. It was a very rare. It would have to be severe for them to be taken to the hospital. It just automatically corrected it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the early childhood studies students were very impressed by this, because it was the system of my childhood. We all lived close together, and every person sort of kept an eye on the person a bit younger than them. So if a mother was under stress, the next generation kept an eye on them. That was my experience in childhood. It was a real community and a really integrated, close family, but which we've very much lost, haven't we now?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Next one, please. We visited the village of Mandinari. The first time I went on a sort of recce to see what the potential was. Went by myself, and I got in a bush taxi, to explore villages. I wanted to find a village that we could visit, and the nearest village seemed to be Mandinari. And as I was going in the bush taxi down to Mandinari, the chap in the bush taxi said to me, "Would you like me to show you my village?" And I said, "Yes, please." And he showed me all around his village, took me to his compound, took me to his house, and he facilitated all our visits after that. He helped the students. He arranged anything for us. Lamin Darbo, that's him in the top right-hand picture, outside, in this sort of sheltered area, the veranda outside his home. And it was fortuitous that we bumped into Lamin, because he was very, very helpful. Obviously, he didn't ask for anything, but I always managed to sort of somehow give him some payment. It was usually payment in kind rather than cash, because
But what's wonderfully uplifting is everyone's so cheerful and clearly so welcoming. I mean, it's just a really heartening sight, isn't it?
Absolutely. The picture on the left is one of the wells. Now, in Mandinari at that time, they only didn't have many good wells. This was the best well in the village, and it was in the compound, the head teacher's compound. So all the villagers in that area used to go to his compound to help themselves to water. There were less good quality wells in the women's gardens, but that one was a very strong and very big one. And see the women doing that, the women getting the water up in a bucket from the well, pour it into the big bowl, and then they'd help each other to get that on their head to carry it back to their home. The weight of it was just unbelievable. But they were that. I haven't got a picture of them carrying one on their head, but I have, but not on this presentation. But that was that's Lamin in the lavender robe. That's plain Chinese damask dye with embroidered all around the edges by the men in the market. Next one, please. Then the last 2 days, the students had a chance to, they had a chance to make a list of what they'd got, what they needed to teach about this less economically developed country, and then to revisit places, to revisit people, to collect the photos, the information that they wanted. And so they spent the last 2 days wandering around in their twos or threes or fours. They were meant to be in minimum of threes, but it didn't always work that way. Sometimes they went as twos, but never mind. And that fish is just drying in the sun there. That's not being smoked. That's drying in the
Oh,
sun.
just undried. I wondered what was this fish.
Yeah, it's fish drying in the sun. And then a smoked fish and cassava and bean meal in the cafe at the bottom there. And then, say, 2005, they're beginning to get internet shops and cafes. And that's what the bottom right-hand corner shows. Telecommunications cafe. That's a colourful background, Brian.
Yes, lovely.
Yeah, that cloth is
It is, isn't it?
beautiful.
Next one, please. So a postcard from the Gambia. Top left is Banjul. Top right, a family, an extended family in the village. I think that's Jambanjali. Then smiling person cooking her meal or ready to serve up a meal. And the meals are communal. That's the meal that was being served in the bottom right picture to a group of students for them to share. And I've got a friend in London, Pansu Toure, who comes from Mandinaria. I first met him when he was in the sixth form at Gambia High School. He was a geography student at Gambia High School, and he's now works for London Underground. He's a signalman for London Transport in London. And I've been to have a meal with him, and he still serves up meals like that to guests. I don't know what they do when they're just the family, but to guests, they still have a Gambian-style meal served up communally and help themselves in the bowl, which is lovely. I really appreciated that he sort of perpetuated the culture for my benefit, really. Bottom left, one that is a shop. Now, if I'd used the word shop in the students' preparation for the trip, they wouldn't have visualized something like that, would they?
No.
I love these plastic bowls, and I've got a green and yellow bucket with stripes like that. I've also got 4 plastic bowls, like mixing bowls, that I've now had for over 20 years, and I use them every day for mixing food, for beating batters, and all sorts of things. And
Wonderful.
they're getting a bit marked inside now, but they've lasted 20 years. They're fantastic. And that's sort of general. Next one. This had to put some quotes from the experience. I will read them because I don't know if any of you are using a phone and it's too small to read. At last, I know what it's like to be a black person in Devon. That's a very perceptive comment, very thoughtful comment. It's helped me understand the West better. I'll see the West differently in future. It's made me appreciate what I've got more: water, electricity, money. They're so proud to invite us into their homes. We'd never do that to strangers in England. This one, I can see this young man's face now, this next one, this yellow one. Before we came, you said it would be a life-changing experience. We didn't believe you, but it was. It was so much so a life-changing experience for that young man that the next year he came again. And if you remember, I said they did it all at their own expense. He paid to come again the next year. And there was another chap in that group who'd been 5 or 6 times to the Gambia with his family and stayed on the tourist strip. And he just could not believe what he was seeing in his 7 days on our visit, compared with what he'd seen in 6 years of holidays. It's made me view my life differently. I think they're very profound comments. Yeah. And that's the indigo tie-dye material, Brian, in the background.
Yeah.
Next one. Group of students having a meal in a compound. Person on the left, Tracy, she teaches in Exeter. Her particular friend was Sue, became head of the Beacon School in Exmouth. Retired from that now, and then she became sort of education office, diocesan education officer. That's Tracy in the bottom picture in the plane. They're all absolutely shattered. It says that now over to Tracy, because then Tracy, after my presentation with this, Tracy then gave a little talk about her experiences. At that time she was an NQT, but she taught at Whipton Barton School, I think she taught at. In the teacher groups, one of the men who used to teach at Exmouth, Exeter Road Community School, primary school, he came, and I'm still in touch with him. He lives just off Marpool, and he talks about it a lot. I think there's one more. And finally, a pavement stall. Remember, this was a geography trip, and there's a row of little globes to sail.
Get real perspective on things there.
That's it. That's it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, a round of applause. Thank you so much, Margaret. That was absolutely fascinating.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thank you for joining in and asking questions. Any comments or questions now or not?
I'll stop the recording.
I think I'll be thinking about that for the rest of the day.
Well, next week or so we'll have the questions.
I don't know.
If anybody would like a copy of it, I'm quite happy to send you a copy of it if you want to look at it again at all. Or show it to anybody else. If you email me, perhaps John could give...
Yes, I'm the press is trying to stop the recording. I'll just see if I can do that. But we could also take up your offer in case there's a problem with the recording. I'll just try and stop this now. The button doesn't seem to work for some reason. But we'll see what it comes out like. Oh, here we are.